one of those times where you're on, but you're not, but you kind of are. Since this is brought to you by Demand Bass, I had to get something with some bass. Where we're at now. And hello. If you break down the company name Demand Bass, it's literally like I demand the bass, and I'm the type of person who would do that. I always demand bass. Always. I'm just like in the car, you're driving, and we're trying to think of what songs. That's what we can go right now. If you're watching right now, or you're not, it's up to you. But if you're watching, we first need to talk about what songs would you use to test the bass out in your car when you're going to demand bass. And my generation, at least my crew, the people that I would hang out with and the people that I knew, were it's probably Mr. Jones, Counting Crows. That it was just the way that bass came in would shake the windows of my buddy's Civic to the point where you thought you'd shatter them. You thought you'd shatter them. And thank you, Elena, for saying it was very important. I agree. I'm going to turn this over here so we can have it all lined up pretty. Thank you. Yeah, I think Mr. Jones was the big one, Counting Crows. And I'm trying to think of what else. A really good kind of bass with that's all you heard when the car would go by. It would just but inside the car, so you'd only hear in the outside of the car be and you couldn't hear. You couldn't hear outside of the car or inside of the car of where we'd be. Justin, I'm texting you right now that I'm on now. So if you're not in here, where are you at? I don't know. That's one of the trends I've seen on TikTok. I don't do that well. I also don't do really TikTok that well. So I more watch than do anything else. But yeah, the bass is important. They're always got to test the bass out until you break it. Until you break it. Stevie says, Chip Allen. Stephanie says Chip Allen. I'm sorry, Stephanie. Good call. I'm gonna check it out. If there's a good bass song, by that, can you let me know which song? I'm gonna look up Chip Allen. I gotta figure this out here. Doom 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 doom. All right. So Yamaha commercial audio, Chip Allen. All right, I'm looking into it. Very cool. Very cool stuff. All right, so this is brought to you by Demand Bass TV, or DB TV for short. And Mark, hello from across the pond at the seaside in England. Well, hello from not the seaside in Oakville, although we are our south borders on Lake Ontario, so we are lakeside, but not really. I have to drive to get to the lake. And hello across the pond. We love us some England, and our heritage is, well, Scottish, so I know it's not English, but still. Good to see you. Always love going over there. And Demand Bass has come along, and bass. And they're launching Demand Bass TV, so I'm going to be interviewed for it soon, actually next week. I'm going to be being interviewed for their one of their segments here. So it's going to be, oh my goodness, what am I doing? I'm showing you my desktop. This is what I want to show you. Get out of here for a second. Boop. There we go. That's what I was looking for. I'm going to be here in the I'm Thinking Of, a thought leadership series that profiles experts and influencers talking about the hot button B2B issues of the day. I don't know what they'll be when I talk to them, But it's going to be compelling. That's for sure. Because if you thought I didn't have a filter before, I really don't have one now. So it's wonderful. And it's 2 weeks from now. I'm so sorry, sir. Oh, my goodness gracious. Justin, my man. The man, the myth, the legend. And hello from Demand Base. Justin is one of those people that I posted about on LinkedIn today. And we're actually going to be working on this. We may have a 7th book in the hopper. Allison may have a 7th book in the hopper, and I just come up with ideas and bleh them out. But one of the things that we really look at, and it's already a common thread throughout everything we've done and everything in marketing for the 20 years, has been that people are the brand, and that can also sound a little cheesy or a little bit like dismissive of other parts of companies. But I really mean that, and I want to show you that as an example. Which is, and hello, a few people. Morgan, hello from Illinois. Hello to you. And Joshua, hello, Florida. Good. I'm headed there for a gig next week. It's my first in-person since February 2020. So it's going to be interesting. So, sorry, back to Justin here. That, as we all do, people change jobs, change companies, change, what they're doing, move places, everything can change. But one thing that does not is my love for Justin and my fondness for everything he stands for and does. And that means that when some place like Demand Base hires Justin has a good BS filter, and with my inner circle, and I don't know about yours, and either correct me if I'm wrong or agree with me. Either way, it's up to you. I don't care. But when a company hires somebody that has the same moral set as you, and you trust them, that shines incredibly brightly on the company. So, there's a lot of companies out there. There's a lot of tech companies out there. There's a lot of tech companies in the ABM world. There's a lot of B2B companies. There's a lot of marketing services. Oh my goodness gracious. So, and I had heard of Demand Base and other companies that are within the same atmosphere. But when they hired Justin, I'm just like, now I need to know about them. So I don't know about you, how much that weights into why you choose vendors for certain things, why you change vendors for certain things. But one of the biggest challenges of marketing, and one of the steps of marketing, is the awareness step. And there's name recall, it's in there, and those type of things. But it's the understanding that when you hear that name, you're like, yeah, I know that company, versus I've heard of that company. It's a very hard stage in marketing to get first of all, to get the recall, to even hear the name and know, you've heard it before, you recognize it, but then also hearing the name and know what they do and or what they stand for. And that's also becoming quite kind of different or gray or murky in this world of this, which is more people are wanting to know also what those companies stand for. And what companies stand for is what the people at the company stand for. That's what it is. Companies are not people, although we can argue in the court and what corporations are humans or not and blah, blah, blah. But companies are made up of people who have things that guide them and drive them and where they go. So Justin going to Demand Base put them way up on my radar. And that's just an individual person. Right. And companies made up of dozens, hundreds, thousands, tens of thousands of people, or millions, depending on the company. And I really think there's that brand. It's a strong thing. So you're hiring people not just for their function. You hire people based on their entire history and relationships and their reach as well. And there's much bigger package than just saying, here's your job, this is the function, and this is the benefit we're going to get is for the tasks you do. Because every time somebody comes into your company, they take their relationships into the company with them. Just like when they leave the company, they can also take those relationships with them as well. And that's really where Demand Base became one of my on my good list, and looked into it because of Justin. I'm sorry, Justin. It's not supposed to be a Praise Justin live, but it is. But it is. That's how this stuff can really go. So I got a trip next week, and I'm going to be hopping on my first plane, staying in my first hotel in a year and a half, and I just need to put it out there. This is the first time I've had as a father and a stepfather. I've been a stepdad for 22 years and a dad for soon to be 20 years coming up in a few weeks. And it's been a wonderful ability to be able to be here with the kids. And I've cherished that part of this. This, it's been a real tough time for everybody, and obviously different people having different levels of that. But I really enjoyed being here, and I'm also really looking forward to the stages I get to go on. And somebody else shares in my praises, which is great, which is also great. And Justin, you just had to add that in there, didn't you? Right? I love you, brother, until fantasy football starts. What you? All right, I'm gonna need Barry here for this one. Fantasy football is the bane of my existence, and I love it. I am Kevin from the league, if you've seen the league. I run this pool. I've run the pool forever, including Justin being in it. And help me, Barry. Right there. You're going to go there, Barry. I'm telling you, I draft the best team every year, without argument, because I don't listen to the other 11 people, including Justin, with their argument. But I draft the best team ever, every year. And then you just kind of get unlucky. So it's getting to be a pattern, though. Like, we're 10 years, Justin, into this, and I haven't won, but I still think it's just luck. Like I'm just been unlucky. So I've tried every freaking way, by the way, of playing in fantasy football. I've tried do the research and then do the draft. I've tried to use the plugins that help you and then do the draft. I've done zero research and I've done the draft. I've done 6 months of research and then I've done the draft. They all end up the same. I don't win. And I can't wait to play. It's just how it is. It's just how it is. So if you have any thoughts or questions or anything, I apologize yesterday. This is actually one of my biggest fears during all of this. And yep, you're right. Justin, stop inviting your kids. Yes. The family seems to have all won except me pretty much. So, which is just fine. Anyway. So yesterday I was supposed to come on live here and Demand Base when they launched it as well. And actually, Sean, this is going to play into what you're asking here. And hello, Sean. Nice to see you. What's your take on future virtual events? All right. So yesterday happened, and it's the first time it happened during the pandemic for me. So this is in our basement here. This is in our corner of our basement, or the lab or the studio. It's just the corner. I can see our treadmill there and a stationary bike over there, but it looks fancy, and it takes a lot to make it look like you didn't have much effort. And in the morning, the internet went down. We know this because the entire house is streaming, is plugged in to the internet, and it turns out a fiber cable got cut. And they're like expected fixing times like 9 p.m. So it was like going to be 12 hours or something. And you realize, oh, everything is cut off. So where are the Blu-rays we hid to entertain the people in the house? And then also, doing this, I could have gone live on my phone, which has been fine. And I could have just streamed from my phone. I could have used my phone as a hotspot. But again, it's also, you also want to have a quality like this. And to be able to do something like this is really important. So that anxiety and that stress, Sean, and I don't know about you, but that was my biggest fear of all this. I've only done probably a dozen webinars in the past 18 months. We didn't promote them at the start. I took about 3-4 months to really try to not master. That's an insult to people who do video and audio, but really get experienced in this. So I know when something goes wrong, I know I can flip cameras. I know I can go, let's say here, and it goes wrong, I can go to the webcam here and come back to this. I can do a creepy zoom if I wanted to. But all those things, understanding that people like myself, people like Sean, we're professional speakers, professional performers, professional presenters. And one of the things that this virtual does is it puts the onus of any kind of the troubleshooting on our end, which is perfectly fine. It's just it's a big difference than what we had before. I would show up to a gig and I'd be like a Vegas DJ. We'd show up with a USB key and I'd be like, make me look pretty, and do the mic, and PSAV or Freeman or whatever would be there doing audio, and I would just go talk, and then I would leave, and that was it. And here we're tech, we're PSAV, and we're the producer, and we're the lighting, and we're the everything, and the Wi-Fi, and the lawnmower that comes out behind the window, or the dogs, or anything else. So it's been being able to handle that without tripping up too much has been an important thing as well. And so back to your question, there's a long-winded preamble to it. The future of virtual events. Well, there's a difference because we're not out of this. So I think the future of virtual events is still the present way they are and part of the past. But going forward, if we get to a point where we're not getting these giant spikes and these variants coming out, that I do think it's not a unique point of view, but it's that hybrid events. I really, it's not about what this is what I hope. This is what I hope. What I hope happens with virtual events is they become part of events, period. That I agree. Like, we have a very, very vested interest in the speaking world coming back. Obviously, it's people in the event industry, and including speakers like myself and Sean. We do want them to come back. That's where I thrive. I love it. I've wanted to speak on stage since I was 12, and this virtual isn't it for me. Doing a webinar isn't it for me, because when we're done, I just press leave, and it's odd. You don't get that feedback. You don't get the nodding heads or the smiles or the laughs or anything else. And so as a performer, it's hard to play off of that. I love the ability that we can do these, and I really think but why I want them to be hybrid going forward is virtual events level the playing field for attendees for the most part. And what I mean by that is if you couldn't afford to travel, or you couldn't take the time off, or you didn't have childcare, or whatever that is, you got to participate in the event as fully as somebody else. Traveling is a lot for a lot of people. Us speakers, and it's what we do, it's a no-brainer. I don't think about traveling. I just travel. I just do it and go to the gigs. But it opened up content and connection virtually for everybody, including people with disabilities, who either can't go to the conference or choose not to, either by the treatment or the facilities themselves. And they don't want to feel like they're an afterthought, because they're not. And I love the fact that the pandemic has forced us to really, really embrace virtual connection and working from home, because it really can help another side of the coin when it comes to individuals who couldn't come, or then have the option to not come. I think it's important. People have crap going on in their lives. They have stuff happening, and just sometimes, and I also understand the incredible value of meeting in person. I lived off that. I would speak at associations' annual conferences and corporations' annual conferences, and it's like a family reunion. It's wonderful. It's wonderful, and I can't wait to see those happen again. But I really want to stress that if you are in events, or you are in corporations that have events, to keep that virtual spot. Keep that virtual aspect, because not only does it allow that the accessibility side of it, the opportunity side of it, but also you've got content. And if it's done right, you have really good content. Now, some speakers might not let you use their content, and some may charge extra for whatever that is. And all right, you figure that out, to each their own. But I want the content. I don't charge extra for the content. And this is not me being that way. It was like, well, I don't do it. I guess other speakers do. No, but I don't do it. And there's a reason for that. It's mainly because the more people that see me speak, the more I get to speak. It's just the equation in speaking. And, the number one reason you get booked to speak is somebody saw you speak somewhere else. And the second reason is somebody they know, like, or trust saw you speak somewhere else. Reasons 3 through 10 of getting booked to speak don't even come close to equaling 1 and 2. It's fractional compared to that. So with virtual, you also get the content, and usually the HD content, really well mic'd. Sometimes filming and events were an afterthought before. And I have some great footage from events, also have not so great footage from events. But you have that way. And I really think if you do virtual and hybrid, that you also mic the audience, have at least a general microphone in the audience so people can feel like they're there when they can't come. And I really think that's important. I really think that's important in this next 6 months to a year. If you're choosing to have in-person events coming up, please don't skimp on the virtual. People also can't go because they're trying to protect themselves, and that should not be a way to exclude people. I think that there's both that we can have there. And thank you, Brian. You are not others, Brian. Brian's awesome, by the way. Go say hello to him as well. Justin has to bring up, except the time you fell off the stage behind you. Okay, it was beside me first off, but I did fall backwards. So yes. And Justin, I said all these nice things about you, and you're just coming with the daggers, and that's why I love you. That's why I love you. Let me see if I'm going to be able to find that. I know I have it somewhere. Let me see. I have it. Do I have it on my... it's okay. Yeah, I fell off a stage. Yep. Fell off a stage in Atlanta. And I'm going to see if I can find it here. Yeah, I fell right over. Arse over tea kettle, as my mom would say. Like, just right off. All right, let me see if I can find this. It's a great visual, and it's just hilarious. Truly. Come on, load. Load from Instagram. I'll find it. Come on. Stop. Don't make me log in. Forget it. I can't find it right now. This doesn't make it for good TV as I search for stuff. Yeah, so I fell right off the stage. Back over. Gary Vee was the other speaker at the event the next day. And I just moved out of the way. I just fell right back off it, but the man bun caught the curtain. I didn't get hurt, but I popped up and I said, let's see Gary Vee do that. So there you go. And it was a small corner. Jason, good to see you, Jason. Nice to see you. I miss you. Would love to say hello one of these days. What topics are you speaking on lately, Scott, or upcoming? We're some of the same topics, but also, with obviously the twist of going forward. We're getting more into leadership now. I don't know if it's age, but once I get closer to 50, I'm just like, all right, now I got to talk to these people who can, do some of those changes and stuff. And I have a few things to say to leaders, and not all of it's kind, but I'll work on it. I'll work on wording it well. But yeah, I really think look, the stuff that got me going before, and that's always what Allison and I talk about, and that's what's in the books, is what gets us going, what gets us riled up. And it's always been about people. Always. On selling the new customer experience is about selling is about people, on marketing is about people, on branding is about people. It's always about people. And that's the big part, is that we're going to keep going like that. That leadership is, do you lead by title or testimonial? And what we mean by that is, look, your title, if it has leader in it or manager, it doesn't mean you're a leader. It means you're a leader by title versus by verb. John Maxwell has a line about leadership as a verb. And it's really true that people follow people who inspire them, who protect them, who get out in front of them and take the brunt of things, who lead, and you follow. So is it by testimonial, meaning when you left or that person left, would they give you a glowing testimonial without being asked? Would they give you a LinkedIn testimonial? Versus, this is my title, I'm a leader. Well, no, you're a manager, you're a director, you're a vice president, you're C-suite. Okay. But you're not a leader until people follow you by choice, not by pay. So that's where we're going, if you can see me getting that way. So Michelle says, agreed, such an opportunity, but hard for those who thrive on the human connection. Yes, very much so. I thrive off of it. I'm pretty extroverted, and I thrive from that, and I thrive from it on stage. And so I totally get it too. Justin, again, from a demand base, says, with virtual events, it'll be interesting to see how Dreamforce will put on it, since it's such a large event. They're already broken into several smaller locations globally and limited in person. Yeah, I think that's a big part of this, Justin, too, is that it's, large indoor gatherings is a problem. And that's it. That's going to be a problem for quite some time. And the problem is these events get booked usually, year, 2 years, up to 5 years in advance. And when they book the venue, the larger conferences have to book really hard, in advance. And they obviously get some priority in booking to, locations and municipalities. But it's going to be a big issue. And so what I see is I see a lot more kind of remote satellite type of ones, little smaller retreats and gatherings, and then having a virtual aspect of that. The problem is it's going to get exclusion. It's going to exclude people. You have to earn it to go there, which, that's going to open up a whole other can of worms, but that's okay. Clayton, what's up, Clayton? I'm 55 and was in the car business for 25 years. Wonder how to get back in the biz. Yeah, good. That's a great question. First of all, Clayton, I think that with employment the way it is right now, if you actually want to work, at a car dealership, that's one thing. But if you want to work in the business side of it, it's also what else gets you going. What the skill set is. Are you interested in tech? Are you interested in other things? Whether it would be with because the automotive industry has so many other aspects to it now as well when it comes to the tech side and the sales and the marketing and the service side. But also, if you're 55 and you've had 25 years in it, one of those things is when somebody gets that long in an industry, when you're in any industry for 25 years. One of the things that you should earn by that point is the credibility, and that's where you can start turning in from using your physicality for a job and using your intellectualness for it. So that's the consulting side of things. Where's the things that gets you fired up in the car business? Is it sales? Is it the mechanics of it? Is it logistics of it? Whatever that is, that's where I would hone down to. That's where I would focus, because there's a whole world of consulting in that area and specialists and stuff that I would look at. And I think that would be, I'm happy to, if you had another comment to add to that, or to send me a message on LinkedIn and see if I can help you out some more. Mark says, one of these days, a new episode of the podcast will show up in my feed and it'll make my week. Mine too. The podcast are the show we did 320 something episodes for. We did it for Alice and I did it for 6 years. It is not done. It is not canceled. We just have when we do it again, we have to do it when it's right, and it will make my week as again. We call our listeners the 7 because we always say we have 7 listeners from day one, and it caught on. And now, as you see, like Mark here, always talks about the 7. They use the hashtags, or they say one of the 7. We've had fans make their own shirts saying one of the 7. We've had our sponsor for the show back then was Emma Email. They made shirts. Emma is one of the 7. So it's like, it really was a nice kind of lucky term that we came up with and caught on. And, I miss the show as well. We miss it because of the fans were wonderful for it. But to be honest with you, I miss doing it because I love sitting across from Alice and bantering with her. I just love listening to her talk. She's brilliant, and she's funny. She's the funniest person I know, and the smartest person I know. And so that show was just me being able to sit in front of her and talk and listen and just look at her face, and because I love it. There's this that's where I want to be, beside Alice and across the table from Alice, and whatever that is, that's what I want to do, and I love it. So if we bring it back, or when we bring it back, it'll be at the right time. We don't force things. We don't force content. And when we shut the show down in March 2020, that was for a reason. And if we can't deliver the show the way we can, we're not going to deliver it. And we love our fans. They're passionate, and they're focused on it, and they want it back. So I really appreciate that, Mark. Thank you for saying that. It means a lot to us. Jason, nice to see you too, man. Loving you speak. Looking forward to your next whatever. Appreciate you very much. Carol says, what are your thoughts about companies prioritizing well-being in the workplace now? Thank frickin' God it started. I went to school, Sheridan College, which is just a block away from where we live now. I went there for HR, for human resources. And the reason why I went into human resources is because I loved people, and I wanted to do what was right for them. Even when I was a part-time employee at a movie theater, a Famous Players movie theater, I'd read the Employment Standards Act and stood up for my coworkers. And then I went into HR, and I found that a lot of HR was protecting management, not employees. And that really, really disheartened me. And I lasted in HR for 2 years because I thought it was a lie. And I really think that if you believe, and a lot of people don't, a lot of companies don't, or they just say it, but your employees are your resource. And if you mine those resources without replenishing them, they're gone. And wellness in the workplace, and just wellness in general, is not a workplace thing. It's a humanity thing. I don't care what you offer in the office. I don't understand companies right now not making it optional for people who at least are doing white collar jobs where you don't have to be on a factory floor or have to be in person because you're giving service for something. I think you're hiring adults, not children. They don't need to be supervised in person all the time. Give them the choice. Look, some people love the office because they get to see coworkers. Awesome. Some don't. Awesome. Some don't because of 1,000 different reasons. Whatever. Give them a choice. And we're back again to an accessibility thing as well. All these companies saying, I can't work from home. You can't work remotely. I'm sorry. And then a pandemic hits and they're like, oh, I guess it can work. And not only does it work, a lot of people can thrive with it because this is not working from home right now. People are not working from home right now. They're working during a pandemic. That is so different. That is very different. So if you're watching right now and you're in leadership and you make decisions on the people that whether or not they have to come back to work and you're thinking, well, I just think our culture fits it. So y'all can do an hour to 2 hour commute because I want you to. Get bent. Get out of here. I don't believe it and I don't buy it. This is our chance. This time is our opportunity to be able to go forward and do it better. Just do better. Companies, do better. Ask your employees what they need. Ask them where they'd like to work and value their answers. Don't force it, please. Neil. Look at you, Neil. You got MBA and a HR designation. Damn. That's good stuff, man. Well done. Can you talk about how storytelling can be effectively used in influencing to support decision making? That is a very MBA question. But it is. It's a very asked MBA style question. Well, and it's at the end of the day is look, the problem with storytelling is we just think it's a task. You are storytelling already. But a lot of the stories just suck. Because they're not stories, they're statements. Take your statements and make them tell a story. An actual story. And what is a story? It's a story that it has logical, a beginning, middle, and end. Story, you can have this in a wonderful crescendo and hitting an apex, and all this type of things. It's just people relate to stories. And when we do, it endears you. When we hear stories, we trust them. We know, like, and trust. I don't have data for it. I don't want data to show that stories do it. You can look at case studies for these type of stuff. But stories can be compelling. Storytelling will not help your business. Good storytelling will. The problem with corporations is they think they're the story. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about your About Us page. I'm not talking about the story of the company. I want to hear the individuals there. I want to hear about the people who work at your company. There's a Domino's franchisee in here in Ontario that just shows their employee stories and their journey at Domino's, and I absolutely love them. And if I can find them, I'll pull them up here. But they tell stories about their people. Ask them, and they'll tell them too. Brian, what's up? I'm late, but I may have missed it. Any update on when you'll be on stage speaking again? Yes, you did miss it, and yes, it'll be next week. I'm headed to Florida, and I'm doing one in a studio, and then I'm speaking at the Florida, I don't want to misquote it, and I've spoken at it a few times, so I really don't want to screw this up. Let me get the exact term here. Please hold. Does anybody else have Google Calendar if you're on a Mac and it just keeps switching months on you because you touch the mouse in a different way? All right, Florida Restaurant and Lodging Association I'll be speaking at as well, which is awesome. I've spoken there before, I believe, multiple times, and I do love them. So yeah, next week. And then in a few weeks after that, I'm speaking as well in near Kansas City. Never been there, so that's going to be awesome. So wonderful seeing you. All please say hi to Brianne, please. And she is not only brilliant, has some great advice, also hugely into pop culture and into some of my favorite groups. We're talking NSYNC, we're talking Backstreet Boys, maybe even going back to NKOTB. Whatever you need. I need some of that dirty pop. I'm in there all day, every day. I will say now, and I'll say forever, My greatest concerts I've been to was Pantera, Metallica GNR, and Backstreet Boys' New Kids on the Block in Vegas at Mandalay Bay. Blew my mind. Doesn't matter the genre. Good music is good music. All right, so this is a LinkedIn user, but the setting wasn't set, so I'm not sure who this is, but hello anyways. It was one of my greatest disappointments to hear late in my career that the primary purpose of HR was to protect the interests of the company. And goes on to say, explains a lot. Yes. And it was one of the greatest disappointments in my young career. That's why I left. Carol says, same here. I had an early stint in HR as well. It's about time to see this revolution once in a generation opportunity. I agree. Justin says, I'm back in Connecticut from California because I'm allowed to work from home from anywhere without a reduction in pay or anything else. Previously, both my wife and I had a 1.5 hour drive each way to work 4 days per week. I already know that. Yes, thank you. But thank you for sharing it on here. And yes, this is what I'm talking about. It blows my mind that a lot of people, a lot of companies don't understand 1 + 1 = 2. 1 + 1 = 2. Employee plus ability to choose where they work equals immensely happier employee. Well, we don't know how to retain our employees, Scott. Okay. Yes, you do. But how do we keep them? You know it. Treat them like adults. Pay them fairly. Give them challenging work. And give them a bucket or two of praise once in a while. Inspire them. Let them do the job you hired them to do. Give them the resources to do it. None of this is rocket science. None of this. Tim says, hey, good to see you back on live. Good to see you on my live. Thank you, Tim. Joshua says, can you talk about what place storytelling has in leadership? I honestly think, Joshua, that the best leaders I've seen are also some of the best storytellers. That's what they do at all hands meetings. That's what they do with staff. That's what they do in videos, is the ability to tell a story in a way that, because adult learning principles have things like, relevance and frame of reference and context, all those things. That is just adult learning principles. It's not some adults. It's adults. It's people. And when I can get, I'm sorry, Barry. I knocked Barry over. That is sacrilegious, especially since the next Hall of Famer, the Lions, just got inducted in the Hall of Fame. Sorry. But storytelling by leaders, I think, is an incredibly crucial skill. But not about them telling stories. It's that they need to tell the right stories. The problem is their stories a lot of times. And you got to be careful in leadership when people ask, when you want feedback on your stories, because people will give you feedback on your stories if they work for you. And you ask them, was this funny or is this funny? And they're laughing. Well, they're laughing because you pay them. They're like laugh-substitutes. Like they laugh because you pay them. And a lot of times too, with a power dynamic, they might not give you honest feedback. Maybe they gave feedback before and you didn't take it too kindly. But whatever that is, if you are speaking, presenting, writing, and you are a leader in a company, get feedback from people. Because that's how you slip up. That's how you say stuff you shouldn't have, because nobody would tell you, because you're surrounded by yes folks. Hire people that challenge you. Ask for feedback from people that will challenge you. And if you don't want to get challenged, then you might run into problems later on. So, there we go. That was a fun rant. Thank you. Thank you all for triggering my rants. The cats are tired of them. The dogs don't even listen anymore. The children are moving out in droves out of this house. I'm just saying it partially because of my stories, potentially. I was going to say Allison is 6 of them, but she's not. She's wonderful. So she lets me ramble on when I need to, which is great. All right. Nathaniel, please tell me if I pronounced your name right. If I did not, please correct me. I need some tricks for unlocking better feedback from some of my peers. They see me working and I want to know what I can improve, but because we're on a team, they seem to not offer too much for me to work on. Great. So I would just give 3 words when you're asking for feedback. Okay. Just give 3 words: stop, start, continue. Okay. And I would give it to them and I would say, What should I stop doing? What should I start doing? What should I continue doing to ensure that we have an even stronger team? And have everybody do the exercise all around. Everybody gets feedback for everybody. You can make it anonymous if you want. You got to be careful with that a bit, but make it anonymous. You could do it online. You can use a Google survey or SurveyMonkey, whatever you want to use. And you can just make it, because one of the reasons why it's so effective is it's pointed. Stop, start, continue. And the hidden thing with that is you're hoping for not too much stop or start if you want. And maybe some good continue. Continue is a nice thing to say, hey, I think you're doing this well. It's like the sandwich feedback, positive, negative, positive. But this way, it's just like it gives you actionable things. And it's just not 3 words and it sounds cool. We used to do this in consulting. We did this with a private school. And they're like, we don't get feedback from parents. They don't give us a lot, or they don't. And I'm just like, what are you talking about? It's one of their bigger expenses, and it's their children. They're going to, if you ask the right questions. And we did stop, start, continue. And in 24 hours, we had a 98% response rate with a lot of feedback. And then they did something with it. That's important. Feedback's hard to hear. I'm not good with it. I always say, it's unsolicited feedback is worth what you paid for it, but it's not necessarily true. I remember somebody coming up to me after a talk and asked why the Ritz-Carlton logo was so small on the screen. And he was a good dude. I've seen him. He's been in the audience at a few talks. Really nice guy. But he came up. He's like, can I ask you why? They should be bigger. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I walked away. 6 months later. 6. I changed the size of them. And I'm like, they're too small. So yeah, I'm more of don't give unsolicited feedback for the most part. But when you receive it, just take a second to see where it's coming from. And was it being helpful, or is it being underhanded or mean? And those type of things, just, get out. But that was effective. So I'm trying to be more open to feedback at this point as well, because I think it's important. I don't want to be right anymore. Right? If that makes sense, I want to do it right. All right? I want to think right. And class is in session, and I am an open book. And I'll continue that way for a very long time. As soon as we stop thinking that, as soon as we stop wanting feedback, because we think we're perfect. We think we know it all. And I'm guilty of that in many times in my life. And it ain't going to be now. So thank you. And Nathaniel, I hope I pronounced your name correctly. But this was nice. Thank you. Thank you all who came on here. Thank you all who hung out with me. Thank you to Demand Base and their new DBTV, which I will be on in 2 weeks. Thank you, Justin, for correcting me on that. Forgot next week I am going travel to my gig. So, yep. Hotel Wi-Fi. We don't trust that stuff. I was born at night, just not last night. We won't be doing that at a hotel. So I'll be back here in 2 weeks to do that. And yay, I pronounced it right. Good. Thank you. I'll be back here 2 weeks doing Demand Bases, I think. So make sure to give Demand Base a follow as well, and you'll have a notification from that. Their link is in the description of this live up here, I think. And yeah, that's it. Demand Base, thank you so much for sponsoring. And we have some goodies coming up. We have some great questions segment coming up. We're gonna do an interview as well, leadership. And Tim, you weren't here for the podcast update before, but the unpodcast is still on hold. And you all will know when it comes out, but we will do it when the time is right, and not a minute before or not a minute after. And it's something we love to do when we are in the right mental space to do it as well, and physical space. And that just isn't right now. But we do love our 7. You know that, Tim. You know that, everybody who's on here. And we have not forgotten about you. But also with podcasting, there's not a good way to get a hold of them. Honestly. Podcasting is like, you can't reach your subscribers that way. And that's okay. We'll get back out there. And the ones who stick around, we'll see you then. So thank you again, everybody, for being on here, hanging out, and doing our thing. And we'll see you all in the near future. I really appreciate you all. I miss you all when you pop on here. So it's nice to see at least your forgetting the daytime of your speaking gig with me is nothing new. No, it is not. Justin with the parting shot. I love you, dude. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you soon. Thanks, Demand Base. Take care.